My name is Lily. Ethan wanted revenge on me. No matter what I did. He remained indifferent. At night, I'd always make noises, either coughing violently for hours or getting up to drink water every few minutes. But nothing ever disturbed him. The master bedroom door stayed firmly shut. He probably thought I was creating these disturbances to make him check on me. Truth was, I wasn't. My body was simply failing. To him, though, I'd always be the scheming liar. When the hospital finally gave me 1 month to live, I brought divorce papers to him that evening. He leaned against the headboard smoking, scoffing. Used up all your tricks. So now you're resorting to divorce to get my attention? He refused. The day his first love left the country, he'd told me, since you're so desperate to marry me, I'll grant your wish. But I'll make sure you regret this every single day. He was right. I did regret it. I handed him the diagnosis report. Let's end this. You wouldn't want to be called a widower. His hands trembled when he saw the 1-month prognosis. Lily. You fucking bitch. He rasped, suddenly dragging me downstairs and shoving me into his car. Fix her. I order you to fix her. Was that concern? Too late. That night, I ate alone and lingered in the bathroom over an hour after my bath. I'd actually passed out in the tub earlier. Tying my robe before the mirror, I touched my gaunt face. I looked skeletal. The front door crashed open as I emerged. Ethan stood there with some girl. Our eyes met in frozen silence. My fingers clenched inside the robe's folds. Leaning against the liquor cabinet with that familiar smirk, he drawled, still playing the victim act? You make me sick. For that heartbeat, the pain in my chest stole all breath. Finally, I returned to my bedroom and closed the door. I put on my headphones, but the pain seeping into every cell of my body roared louder in the darkness. Curling into a ball, I tasted iron spreading across my throat. When I moved my lips away, the lamplight revealed bright red smears. Drenched in sweat, I stumbled into the bathroom. That night, I lost track of how long I'd been gritting my teeth against the agony in the shower. Only when the physical torment subsided slightly did I crawl out to clean the bloodstains from the sink. The bathroom door rattled. Someone's in there? A girl's voice. I stayed silent and flipped the light switch. Oh, there really is. She sounded annoyed. Moments later, someone leaned against the doorframe. 2 impatient knocks followed. You done yet? Ethan's voice. I scrubbed the remaining blood from my hands faster and yanked the door open, rushing past where he lounged against the doorway. The girl entered as I left. Only then did I turn to glance at him. Why? Why humiliate me like this? He stared back, triumphant. Smug. Mocking? I looked away, filling a glass with warm water. I placed it on the coffee table. From the drawer, I retrieved multiple pill organizers. Ethan leaned against the room divider, watching me pop out tablets with that infuriating sneer. He probably thought I was faking again, staging some terminal illness for attention. That expression screamed, keep acting. Lily. I won't fall for it. I smiled bitterly, swallowing each pill under his gaze. After tidying up, I walked past him without acknowledgement. When first diagnosed with leukemia, the doctor demanded family presence. He'd hung up on my call. Now my medications stayed not in my bedroom, but in this living room drawer he'd inevitably seen. If only one day he opened the drawer, he'd discover I'm terminally ill. But half a year passed, and he never noticed. Not just half a year, even today, when I took medication right in front of him, he thought I was putting on an act. I closed the door and suddenly wanted to laugh. I wonder if he'll feel even a hint of regret on the day I die. His wife had taken anti-leukemia medication right before his eyes. Yet he dismissed it as an elaborate performance, at least one he didn't fall for. The next day, Sophia left. Ethan wasn't home either. The housekeeper cooked and departed. In a daze, I sipped a few mouthfuls of congee before walking to the floor-to-the-ceiling window. A pool of warm sunlight spilled through. I lifted my fingers to the glass, trying to touch the light outside. But it remained untouchable. In college, My gaze lingered on Ethan Roberts. Yet Ethan's eyes were always fixed on Sophia Miller. Sophia and I had participated in the same campus group. That's when I realized we were polar opposites in personality. She rarely expressed herself but had intense pride. Often, a single comment would send her weeping in the corner. Because I liked Ethan, many assumed I intentionally bullied her. That year marked the beginning of my ruined reputation. The way Ethan looked at me turned icy. The year we graduated, Sophia chose to study abroad. Groundless rumors spread that I'd driven her away through sheer force. Before leaving, she met me once, initiated by her, to say goodbye. The day Sophia left the country, Ethan came to me. "Since you like me so much," he said, "let's get married." I was bewildered. Too young then. I thought marriage seemed reckless. Yet believed my love could make him love me back. I followed him to the courthouse. Thus began his campaign of humiliation and retaliation. I was truly naive, thinking his proposal held at least some affection. Never imagined it was pure vengeance. But what did I do wrong? I never harmed Sophia. Never forced her away. Yet no one believed me. In the early days of my marriage, I tried desperately to reshape Ethan's perspective. I became a homemaker, meticulously arranging our home to his tastes. When he was angry, I never argued. When Mrs. Roberts fell ill, I cared for her with unwavering devotion. No matter how late Ethan returned from business dinners, I'd wait up with homemade hangover soup, draw his bathwater, and even mastered massage techniques for his migraines. Yet not once did I receive a word of appreciation, only his perpetual icy demeanor. Once, I deliberately nicked my finger while chopping fruit and tearfully showed him. "Honey, I'm bleeding. It hurts." He smirked and pushed my hand away. Self-inflicted wounds now? How theatrical. During a fever, I curled against him pleading. "Feel my forehead, I'm burning up." He shoved me off, eyes glued to his laptop. "See a doctor." Why bother me? The final straw came when his friend's mastiff bit me. Ethan stood watching coldly with his companions as I limped alone to the hospital for rabies shots. That endless walk down the mountain through torrential rain left me drenched, trembling, unable to distinguish rainwater from tears before collapsing helplessly on the roadside. Afterward, I stopped trying. I hired a cook instead of preparing meals. I no longer waited up nights. I moved out of our shared bedroom where he'd sprawl across the mattress, leaving me to wake on the floor. When my leg healed, I quietly filed for divorce, expecting relief. I was stunned when Ethan tore the papers apart with a sneer. "Giving up already? We're just getting started." The games continued. I heard from alumni that Sophia might be in trouble overseas, though the specifics remained unclear. Ethan hadn't returned home for several days. While pruning flowers today, I suddenly felt warm liquid trickling from my nose. Blood droplets splattered across the petals. Tilting my head back did nothing to stem the crimson flow. The pruning shears slipped from my trembling fingers. My childhood memory surfaced, mother bleeding uncontrollably before her death. At the hospital, test results pinned me to the plastic chair. The silver-haired physician adjusted his glasses, flipping through reports with increasing gravity. Finally, he shook his head. 5 characters glared from my diagnosis sheet: acute leukemia. Does leukemia have acute and chronic types? My numb lips formed the question. The doctor sighed heavily. Acute cases typically give patients 3 months to a year. Chronic types might allow a decade. Water droplets smudged the acute on the paper. So many plans left unrealized. Perhaps next lifetime. Ethan reappeared after 5 days' absence when I returned home. He lounged on the sofa. I bent to remove shoes, freezing at the scarlet stilettos by the doorway. A woman emerged from his bedroom, complaining, "Mr. Roberts, my earrings caught in my hair." He set aside his phone. "Come here." She settled beside him as his fingers worked through the tangled strands. Their bodies curved together intimately. His gaze met mine, lips quirking with dark amusement before pulling her onto his lap. I stood petrified, clutching medical documents urging family notification. Earlier, my call to him had been severed after one ring. Not occupied with business, but busy entertaining this Sophia look-alike. I finished changing shoes mechanically. The bedroom door clicked shut behind me. They left together later that day. I left the medication in the living room drawer. I kept wondering what reaction Ethan would have if he ever found it. But he never opened that drawer. Later, I learned something had happened to Sophia. She'd been tricked into a fraudulent marriage overseas, physically abused, and suffered a mental breakdown. Every girl Ethan brought home shared some resemblance with Sophia. He was clearly punishing me for what happened to her. After the first few times, I became numb. Truth was, I was counting down my own days. How could I care about anything else? Even this man I'd once loved with every fiber of my being now left me utterly indifferent. But I wanted nothing to do with being Mrs. Roberts anymore. I needed to find a way to shed that title. 6 months and 20 girls later, Ethan finally stopped. He seemed bored with the game. He started spending more time at home. Though more time just meant occasional weekend afternoons. My body had somehow lasted half a year. But the end was near. These days, even lying still at home left me weak and feverish. On this particular sunny afternoon, I sat bundled in thick sweaters like a human dumpling, huddled near the sunlight at the sofa's edge. The constant cold sweats from my illness never left me. The sudden creak of his bedroom door made me look up. Ethan took 2 steps before freezing mid-stride, his suspicious gaze locking onto me. "You're wearing all that in this heat?" His voice sounded unfamiliar from disuse. I met his eyes. "I'm cold. Why else?" His perfect features darkened, sinking into the opposite couch. He studied me with unusual focus, probably the first real attention he'd paid me in years. "The housekeeper says you barely eat. Can't finish half a bowl?" I tightened my shawl. "Since when do you care?" Our gazes held. His frown deepened, perhaps finally noticing my skeletal pallor. My health had deteriorated right before his eyes. Yet he'd never questioned if something was seriously wrong. Just as hope flickered, he stood, car keys jingling in those elegant fingers. "If you're sick, go to the hospital. Don't think starving yourself into this pathetic state will make anyone pity you. Some people aren't worth pitying their entire lives." Another hope shattered. I snorted. Ethan turned at the entrance, my derisive sound clearly grating on him. I'd already looked away, focusing on the sunlight streaming through the windows. He paused for several heartbeats before the door slammed shut. After that day, whether tired of his escapades or sensing something amiss, Ethan started coming home for dinner regularly. When I staggered up from the table, his hand shot out to steady me. "Didn't you go to the hospital?" he asked, faint creases forming between his brows. "I did. Days ago." I looked down, shaking off his touch as I put distance between us. At the next evening meal, I'd barely set down my chopsticks when he pushed a bowl of fish broth toward me. "Drink." I stared blankly until his tone softened, a rare occurrence. 2 bites aren't enough. At least take some nutrients. After consideration, I forced down the greasy liquid. If I wasn't mistaken, some tension left his shoulders when I emptied the bowl. That night on the chaise lounge, I cocooned myself in blankets while stargazing. Our hilltop estate offered crystalline views of the cosmos. Footsteps approached the balcony. A lighter flickered in the shadows. "Lily." I kept watching the Milky Way's sprawl. Only when the silence stretched did I respond. "Yes." Ethan leaned against the railing, cigarette tip glowing. "Can't I say your name without reason now?" Turning fully, I studied his silhouette. With so many beauties to summon, why bother? His features seemed to relax when our eyes met. I waited as he tilted his head toward the stars. "Maybe I just want to say it tonight." Moonlight silvered his tailored white suit, elongating his shadow across the tiles. I returned to contemplating the void beyond our terrace. "Don't. You never cared to before." The words fell softer than stardust. His gaze locked onto me again, this time intense and penetrating. "What's wrong with you?" I simply shook my head. "Nothing." After a long silence, he spoke. Do you want a divorce? I opened my mouth to respond. But he turned away. Don't even think about it. We're bound together for life. Bound together? Aren't we? I'll never find happiness. And you won't go chasing after yours either. Is that so? You could always go to Sophia. Bring her back and you'll be happy. In the chilly night air, I heard him scoff. You think 3 years changes nothing? Everything's different now. Suddenly he wheeled around, eyes blazing even in the unlit balcony. Haven't you changed too? Become someone I don't recognize. I replied casually. So it's that obvious? I must look revolting now. Yet here you are on the balcony anyway. If I couldn't stand looking at someone, I'd simply stop looking. There was a time I cared deeply about appearances. I'd diet over half a pound. Do daily yoga to maintain my figure. Slather expensive serums on my face. After getting sick, no skincare could combat the damage. I barely had energy to wash my face, let alone apply makeup. What did it matter anymore? Strangely, my words made him freeze with disbelief. Before I could question it, he muttered, "Not your looks. If not my appearance, then what?" He stubbed out an unsmoked cigarette. Exhausted, I threw off the summer quilt and stumbled from the chaise lounge toward the bedroom. The cool night carried his heavy exhale behind me. Lily, let's try to make this work. I stiffened mid-step. What did he mean? Make what work? After the prolonged silence, I could only assume he meant our marriage. How many years had I waited for those words? 3 since our wedding. 7 since I first loved him. Now all I could offer was 4 syllables. Too late. I shut the bedroom door firmly behind me. Next morning, the housekeeper sighed at the balcony's carpet of cigarette butts. Through the floor to the ceiling window, my gaunt reflection stared back from the rain-puddled glass littered with damp petals and ash. The entire scene exuded an indescribable bleakness. After that night, Ethan reverted to his cold, unyielding demeanor. Our balcony conversation had vanished like rainwater swept away by night winds. His schedule resumed its relentless rhythm, leaving at dawn, returning past midnight, often disappearing for days. My health deteriorated rapidly. Days blurred into bedridden agony, interrupted by nosebleeds and fitful sleep. When Ethan returned evenings, my bedroom light would already be extinguished. Occasionally I'd hear water running in the adjacent bathroom. Footsteps pausing outside my door, only to retreat every time. On a rare clear, skied morning when strength briefly returned, I washed up, pulled on a sweater, and went to the hospital. The elderly physician's sigh felt heavier than funeral drums this time. 1 month left. Get your affairs in order. Clutching the diagnosis, I wandered hospital corridors like a ghost. My drifting gaze suddenly anchored on Ethan standing across the hallway, impossibly statuesque amidst ordinary crowds. Accompanied by a smiling young woman. Hospital administrators led their entourage. The girl leaned close, murmuring something that curved her lips upward. As they rounded the corner, Ethan froze mid-stride upon seeing me. Dark eyes churning. The entire group halted. Administrators inquiring, "Mr. Roberts? Do you know her?" I recognized the woman then. A stranger, yet bearing faint resemblance to Sophia. Our locked gaze lasted eons, compressed into seconds before I turned down the opposite corridor. So, that balcony conversation hadn't been about reconciliation after all. Just another of Ethan's cruel games. Thank God I'd said too late instead of surrendering to false hope. He returned home unusually early. Not even noon on a workday. Had he taken that woman for medical tests? The workaholic I knew should have returned to the office afterward. Yet here he stood in our foyer. Coat still damp with late autumn chill. Even in the worst circumstances, one should at least spend more time with their partner. Why did you come back so early? Though it's just as well. I happened to have something to discuss. Ethan was changing shoes by the entryway when I glanced at the divorce papers on the table, the same electronic draft our lawyer had prepared before, which I'd just printed at the shop on my way home. He walked over after changing shoes, lingering in the living room before fixing his gaze on me curled up on the couch. Today was an accident. It wasn't what you think. I pressed my lips together, barely registering his words as I noticed a minor issue with the agreement. The original terms granted me full ownership of our marital home while excluding me from any claims to his company assets. This house was supposed to be his sole purchase, but I'd insisted on contributing my savings to make it ours. Though legally, I could have fought for a substantial stake in his business during the split. I never wanted that, just a place to live after parting ways. Now, I didn't even want this house anymore. Too many women had passed through these rooms. Dying here would only leave bad energy. Crossing out the home ownership clause with a pen, I calculated my remaining $60,000 savings, more than enough for the final month. When I looked up, the living room stood empty. The acrid scent of cigarettes drifted from the master bedroom. I found Ethan slumped against the headboard. Long legs sprawled across unmade sheets with shoes still on. Smoke curling from his lips. The man before me now bore little resemblance to the composed figure I'd seen at the hospital last week. My nose wrinkled, he'd only picked up this chain smoking habit in recent months. Coughing pointedly, I yanked open the sheer curtains. He stubbed out the cigarette and activated the air purifier before meeting my eyes. "What's wrong?" For a fleeting moment, his gaze seemed to soften with uncharacteristic tenderness. I studied that achingly familiar face for 2 steady beats, the same features I'd loved obsessively for nearly a third of my life, before extending the revised papers. "Ethan, don't tear these up again. Let's end this civilly." Storm clouds gathered in his expression. "Lily, I told you today was a misunderstanding. It doesn't matter." "Of course it matters." He surged forward. "Since our talk that night, I haven't." "Ethan," I interrupted softly. "Are you trying to say you want me to stay?" The divorce agreement landed with a slap against the nightstand as he snatched it away. "Not long ago. The company had an urgent project. I've been traveling a lot for work and haven't been home much." I looked up, staring blankly at him. The storm clouds on his face seemed to dissipate as he reached to hold my hand. "Lily." But I pulled away just as his fingers brushed mine. "The divorce has to happen. Ethan. I'm terminally ill. Dying soon." His breath hitched. "What?" I picked up the medical report that had fallen during our earlier struggle over the divorce papers. "This. My diagnosis." His eyebrow twitched as he took the document. With every line he read, his complexion turned ghostly pale. I watched his hands tremble first, then his legs, until his entire body shook violently. "No, this can't be. Lily, tell me this is fake." His voice cracked, eyes reddening. "Some twisted lie to get the divorce, right?" I studied his shattered expression, a version of him I'd never imagined seeing. When his pleading gaze met mine, I smiled faintly. "You took that girl to the hospital too. Didn't you wonder why I was there? Didn't ask what illness brought me? Ethan, you've never truly cared. Never loved me. We'll cure this." He interrupted desperately, surging forward to crush me against his chest. For the first time, I felt his broad frame quaking. His arms locked around me like steel bands, stealing my breath. I'd never seen Ethan unravel like this. He practically dragged me downstairs, shoved me into his car. His knuckles whitened on the steering wheel as he dialed with shaking hands. "Dean Sullivan? Assemble a leukemia specialist team. I'm arriving with the patient in 20 minutes. When he reached to touch my face mid-drive, I flinched toward the window, tightening my scarf. Undeterred, he captured my ice-cold hand between his warm palms. "I'll save you. Unless miracles exist," I said tonelessly. His grip faltered. We engaged in a silent battle of wills until he finally released me, fumbling for cigarettes before aborting the motion. At the green light, he slammed the accelerator. The hospital's elite team turned out to be led by my original oncologist, the same one who'd confirmed my prognosis weeks earlier. Ethan didn't know I'd already tried every treatment, that I'd fought to live before accepting the inevitable. The best hematologist in the city was already on the case. I'd once felt hopeful seeing the veteran physician's impressive credentials and medical miracles he'd achieved. But even the finest specialists can't save everyone. Outside the conference room, I heard Ethan's fist slam against the table inside. Are you saying there's nothing you can do? Mr. Roberts. Please remain calm. I've been treating Mrs. Roberts from the start. If there were any options, we wouldn't be at this stage. You handled this from the beginning without informing the family? This diagnosis doesn't require family notification? Ethan's voice vibrated with suppressed fury. The doctor's heavy sigh carried through the door. I didn't know she was your wife. She never mentioned it. Though I do recall advising her to contact family on diagnosis day. I can't explain why you remained unaware. Sudden silence swallowed the room. My nose began dripping blood again. I scrambled for tissues, wiping crimson droplets before dabbing cold sweat from my forehead. The perpetual fever fluctuated between manageable warmth and incapacitating inferno, low-grade allowing brief functionality, high-grade confining me to bed. The door clicked open. Ethan emerged stone-faced, expression softening when he saw me. His arm encircled my shoulders, triggering visceral revulsion. Too weak to resist. I mumbled, needed the restroom. Got dizzy walking. Your suite has an ensuite. He lifted me effortlessly, carrying me back. Nurses scrambled with medical trays as he snapped, I paid for VIP service. Where's the 24/7 care? A nurse stammered apologies. Not her fault. I interjected, recalling her earlier family emergency call. At the bathroom door. I insisted, I'm fine. His silhouette lingered on frosted glass. I'll wait here. Leaning against cold tiles. I closed burning eyes. Endless tests followed daily. Each medical report made Ethan's jaw tighten, his lighter cracking under white-knuckled grip. He flew in overseas specialists, their initial confidence crumbling within days of reviewing my charts. My hospital bed became a swamp of sweat-soaked sheets, feverish heat alternating with pain-induced chills. Mirror avoidance became routine, skeletal protrusions under papery skin too grotesque to confront. The Roberts family fortune couldn't purchase what medicine couldn't fix. The location of my hospital room was excellent, costing 5 figures per day. Outside the row of sunlit windows bloomed a magnolia tree bursting with vitality. Lying sideways on the bleach-scented white bed, I watched the pink-tinged magnolia buds. Ethan entered, asking gently, almost incongruously for his tall frame, "What are you looking at?" I didn't answer. Truthfully, I'd long stopped responding to anything he said. Yet he'd become someone entirely different. Visibly wounded whenever I politely answered doctors and nurses while ignoring him. His eyes flickered with profound loneliness as he moved to open the window wider. This magnolia blossom? I pressed my lips together. When his fingers brushed the flower, I gasped, "Don't pick it." He withdrew his hand. Not picking, just removing bugs. Settling in the bedside chair, he continued, "You've always loved flowers. Like in college." My gaze sharpened. College? Had he ever noticed me then? He stared beyond the window, reminiscing aloud. We had magnolias by Virtue Hall. During bloom season, girls wore petals behind their ears. You collected fallen ones for bookmarks instead. His eyes met mine. "Lily, you've always reminded me of these flowers, pure, untainted beauty." I frowned. Since when did he observe me? His mustard yellow suit hung wrinkled after days spent haunting this hospital, amplifying his haggard appearance. The man I'd once adored now evoked only revulsion. I shut my eyes to erase him from view. Cool fingers brushed my bangs. "I know you hate me." His whisper trembled. "But let me stay. I'll repay everything next lifetime." His lips grazed my forehead. As he closed the window against the breeze, darkness pulled me under. Chaotic footsteps erupted later. Machines whirred as oxygen grew thin. My vision blurred crimson, blood blooming across sheets. Metallic wetness coating my chin. Curling inward, I glimpsed a thick syringe before Ethan's anguished face filled my world. "Wife," calloused thumbs smeared scarlet from my lips as he crushed me against his tear-dampened suit. "Save her," he begged the medical team. They pried him away. My final sight was Ethan, proud businessman turned broken supplicant, shuffling out like an old man. Each step echoing with regret. The room was filled only with doctors in sterile white coats. The attending physician picked up a thick, long needle, administering anesthesia now. My clothes were lifted. A cold sensation touching my skin followed by bone-deep pain. I curled tighter, murmuring deliriously, "I don't want treatment anymore, stop." The numbing agony faded. Darkness swallowed me. After what felt like endless dreaming, I felt steel-piercing flesh again. Twisting slowly. A guttural moan escaped me. "Honey." Something warm dabbed my forehead. My limp hand was enveloped in firm warmth. I blinked open crusted eyelids. The man before me had stubble shadowing his jawline. "Honey," he rasped. I weakly squeezed his index finger. Parched lips moving. "Ethan. I don't want treatment anymore." His hand froze mid-caress. He gently brushed damp hair from my face. "It's too painful. Isn't it? I'll demand stronger painkillers." "Useless," I whispered. "No such medicine exists." He collapsed into the chair. Moments later, he dipped a cotton swab in water, moistening my cracked lips. Silent tears tracked down his unshaven face as he performed this ritual. His movements gentler than any nurse's. I stared blankly at the hospital window. Forehead permanently creased. The agony never ceased, only fluctuated between unbearable and marginally tolerable. Given the choice, I'd swallow any pill promising permanent relief. Even lethal. The magnolia bud I'd nurtured was withering. Recent rainy days had accelerated its decay. Petals rotting like some grim omen. A frosty laugh escaped me. Ethan cradled my hand, blotting sweat before pressing lips to my knuckles. I jerked away, hiding under thin sheets. He returned at 2 a.m. reeking of cigarettes. Dress shirt wrinkled beyond recognition. "Sleep more, sweetheart?" The man who'd once radiated confidence now hovered like a ghost. "Your smoke, it stings." I turned toward the dying flower, its brown edges curling like my shriveling hope. I didn't look at him, keeping my gaze fixed on the ceiling. He immediately stepped back. "Sorry. I'll go shower." His outstretched hand withdrew. He grabbed clothes from the cabinet and entered the bathroom. The sound of rushing water began. I lay motionless. Not that I didn't want to move, I simply lacked the strength. Glancing sideways, I saw rows of imported medicine bottles. During my unconsciousness, I'd heard nurses whisper about my daily treatment costing $30. 000. All medications airlifted from overseas. They marveled at never having seen such a devoted husband personally attending to me. Assembling the finest medical teams globally. Never blinking at astronomical bills. My lips twisted. Why? Why was Ethan suddenly fighting so desperately to prolong my life? Perhaps because my death would deprive him of his favorite plaything, no more living target for his cruelty. The shower stopped. I closed my eyes as cedarwood scent permeated the air around my bed. The fresh aroma grew stronger near my nose, followed by a voice hoarse with emotion. "Lily, I don't smell anymore. Could you look at me?" Anguish thickened his words, his arms tightening around my waist. Morning brought pain, waking me early. I watched petals drift past the window until movement stirred beside me. Ethan sat up, dark circles deepening under his eyes. "Honey, you're awake." "Mr. Roberts." His secretary knocked gently, signaling him to the doorway. "Your lunch meeting with Hongqing's CEO. Cancel it. But today's discussion involves the prime downtown property." Ethan's hissed reply carried from the corner. "Tell me, will those profits cure my wife?" "Understood, sir." "And the quarterly meeting?" "Let the VP handle it." Doctors soon entered to hang another 4 bag. Ethan stared at my swollen hand, distress flooding his downcast eyes. When he finally noticed my gaze, tender hope lit his features. He gently clasped my unbandaged hand. "Honey." Everyone else had left. It was time for me to handle the final matter of my life. "Ethan, where's the divorce agreement?" He froze instantly. "Honey, you must be hungry. What do you want to eat? I'll have Aunt Lou prepare something." I smiled bitterly. Do I look like I can eat anything in this condition? Ethan. Let me fulfill my last wish. He stood rigid, shadows of death clinging to him like a cloak. After prolonged silence, he finally crouched down to rub my fingertip, coaxing like one would a child. Don't make me sign it. Please? You'll always be my only wife. Lily. A tear escaped my eye as I whispered. Do you really want me to leave this world with regrets? Don't cry. Then bring the papers. I'll stop when you sign them. He caught my tear before covering his face with trembling hands. Lily. I never what? That girl at the hospital was just a misunderstanding? My decision has nothing to do with that. No. There's never been anyone else. His bloodshot eyes met mine desperately. They were all paid actresses. Lily. The noises you heard, everything was staged. I never touched a single one of them. My breath caught. Lily. Don't leave me. I fell for you, hard, but I was too stubborn to admit it. My damned pride made me hurt you repeatedly. His shoulders shook violently. I thought since you pursued me first, I should hold the upper hand. When you started pulling away, I brought those women around like some pathetic teenager seeking attention. Every cruel word I said was just. God. I wanted you to fight for me. A broken sob escaped him. That day on the balcony when I finally swallowed my pride and suggested reconciliation. I was going to take you to the hospital. You'd gotten so thin. So pale, but you still refused me. His knees hit the floor with a sickening thud. It should be me dying. Not you. I'm the monster who, with my last strength, I yanked out the 4-needle. Too late. Ethan. My vision blurred as coldness crept through my veins. You call this love? All I ever was your pathetic lapdog. The heart monitor flatlined as my final whisper hung in the air. Keep your hollow redemption. This dog stopped wagging her tail long ago. But deep down, you look down on it. You think it's filthy. Not as adorable as other puppies. So you kick it when you're upset. Even withholding food. When this little dog finally can't endure your cruelty anymore and leaves alone, gravely injured and clinging to life, you see it again, awakening some pathetic shred of protective instinct. You want to save it. But once it recovers, you'll just keep hurting it. Resenting it. Stepping out of the hospital, I greedily inhale air untainted by disinfectant. The weather's nice. Yet I still glance down, tightening the buttons on my cardigan. Watch it. Someone brushes past me in a hurry. Ethan extends an arm, pulling me against him. I turn my head. Dawn light spills over us. He's tall. Sunlight glances off his profile as our eyes meet briefly. In my flats, I barely reach his chest. The illness has hollowed me out, leaving me skeletal. His arm tightens around my waist incrementally, as if trying to anchor something. I lower my gaze. The car's here. Time to go. I twist free and reach for the door. He blocks the back seat. Ride shotgun. He opens the front passenger door instead. I don't argue. After I sit, he leans in to fasten my seatbelt. When he straightens, he braces against the doorframe, standing rigidly in the sunlight for a beat too long. I look up, catching the tense line of his jaw. Ethan? He shuts my door and circles to the driver's seat. You head to the office. I'll drive myself. The secretary leaves. He gets in. Morning rush hour has passed. Traffic sparse. Yet he drives below the speed limit, stopping precisely at every red light. I smooth my wrinkled blouse. Ethan. I'm exhausted. Drive faster. Outside the Civil Affairs Bureau, I clutch my documents and step out. Squaring my shoulders, I climb the entrance steps one deliberate pace at a time. Funny, on our wedding day, I'd bounded up these same stairs just as quickly. Now, finalizing the divorce, I'm hurrying again. These steps contain the last reserves of my life force. I reach the top. Turn. He's still standing below. The girl who had just gotten her marriage certificate couldn't help staring at Ethan and exclaiming how handsome he was before being quickly dragged away by her husband. He lowered his head and stepped onto the stairs. The hall was sparsely populated. "Sir, need any help?" A staff member smiled at him. He ignored her. Walking past, he silently stood by the machine to get his number before returning to sit beside me. As I checked the documents, his hand suddenly gripped my arm. "Lily." I remained silent, turning to look at him. His eyes were closed with exhaustion. "I love you." His 3 words echoed in the slightly noisy hall. Every functioning nerve in my body froze at that moment. He maintained that position, eyes shut, clutching my wrist until our number was called. "Ethan. Our turn," I reminded him. His grip tightened imperceptibly, as if using his last ounce of strength to hold on. "Ethan. Let go. The staff is waiting." A worker approached whispering, "Sir? Ma'am. Are you number 3? I nodded. Ethan opened his eyes and stood. We settled before the workstation together. "Are both parties willing to divorce?" Emerging from the Civil Affairs Bureau, I relaxed under the sunlight. Tucking away the certificate, I turned to leave when Ethan pulled me close. "Where to?" "I'll drive you." Having discharged myself from the hospital, not cured, just beyond treatment, I started to refuse. His eyes reddened slightly. "Lily. Just let me take you this once. Don't reject me again." "But I don't even know where I'm going," he insisted. "Get out wherever you want." "Fine." The car merged into traffic silently. I gazed at the passing streets for about half an hour until we passed the magnolia-filled park. "Stop here," I called. The car pulled over. "Lily." I unbuckled my seatbelt and turned around. "I'm here. You can go." I stepped out of the car and walked toward the blossoming grove. The calls from behind gradually faded in the breeze. Beneath the rest bench, I crouched to stroke the stray dog curled into a ball, its leg caked with blood. Finding its wound, I tore off my belt to bandage it. Then I unwrapped the sausage bought at the garden entrance and fed it to the trembling creature. It nibbled cautiously. When finished, it nuzzled my shoe, cradling the bony frame. I settled on the bench. Sunlight draped over us, warming 2 souls abandoned by the world. Time flowed silently until metallic bitterness surged up my throat. The pup whined softly as I patted it. "Goodbye, little one." My hand fell. Then my body. Under the magnolia trees, I approached and gently lifted Lily. My wife. Though she'd long stopped acknowledging that title. Her stillness resembled sleep. Lips slightly parted. My kiss descended with scalding tears. She'd been relentless, courageous in loving me, ruthless in leaving. She'd ripped out 4 lines to finalize our divorce. Our first campus encounter flashed by, her blossom bright smile declaring, "Ethan Roberts? I'm Lily Anderson. From the Foreign Languages Department." Second meeting found her blocking my cafeteria path. "What electives did you pick?" "Ethan?" Third time. She materialized beside me in lecture hall. "Fancy meeting you here, Ethan." When I joined student council, she enlisted too. During meetings, she'd leave boxed lunches on my desk. Hearing of my stomachache, she bullied medications into my roommate's hands. Each academic award brought her sprinting to applaud, "Genius move, Ethan." She orbited my world like jubilant starlight. Friends warned, "Don't screw this up, Roberts. If you won't claim Lily, we will." Yet I grew complacent, never imagining 4 years could unravel. Not even when Sophia started lingering by my side that final year. She had already stepped out of my life on her own. I wasn't worried she'd fall for someone else. As the sun dipped westward, Chen Wen approached. "Ethan. My condolences." I held her, motionless. The last sliver of sunlight vanished over the river. I buried my face. "Chen Wen. I've lost my wife. The love of my life, gone by my own doing." My shoulders shook uncontrollably. All I wanted was a miracle, for the woman in my arms to wake up. To share half my remaining years with her. To grow old together. On a drizzly afternoon, Lily's memorial service began. Friends from political and business circles arrived, placing flowers with practiced solemnity. I stood aside, numb. When our college classmates appeared, their heavy gazes bore silent accusation. Lily had been extraordinary. 3 years of marriage. And I'd cost her everything. I was irredeemable. They buried her in a private hillside cemetery with sweeping views. I planted a magnolia tree beside her grave. By next year, it would bloom. Wind would send those petals dancing around her resting place. Another ordinary afternoon. I gripped my phone, staring at the blistering sun outside. Then finally dialed. Ethan. Is that you? We're not close. Just call me Ethan. Sophia hesitated. What's wrong? After 3 years. Why call now? I gazed steadily across the room. I need the truth about one thing. About what? My fist tightened. That day at the airport, you sobbed that Lily had insulted you. Claimed you weren't good enough for me. Was it true? Why dredge this up now? Did she push you away? I have work to, Sophia. My voice cracked. Lily's dead. What? Don't pretend ignorance. You're in the alumni group. That act of yours remains flawless. A bitter laugh escaped me. Stop this. Answer me. Ice coated my words. 3 seconds. Silence means you lied. 3, 2, 1. The other end remained silent. I closed my eyes briefly. As expected, Lily hadn't driven her away. Her voice trembled violently. I was wrong. I needed to study abroad then. I just hated her. Didn't want you two to be happy together. I shouldn't have lied. You know I've paid for it, tricked into marriage overseas. Beaten until I miscarried. I'll never have children now. Ethan. Please forgive me? The phone sank into the fish tank, disappearing like it had plunged into the ocean depths. My chest constricted with explosive pain. I truly deserved eternal damnation. The stray dog came home with me. I had Chinwen take it for deworming and leg treatment before keeping it. From then on, this dog became my sole companion, sharing meals, keeping vigil during paperwork, enduring empty hours of solitude. I moved to the guest bedroom. Her presence lingered everywhere, toiletries bearing her scent. The same shampoo and toothpaste I now used. When supplies ran low, I restocked identical brands. My orderly routine couldn't mask the suffocating void. The silent agony of existing as an empty shell with its heart carved out. Chenwen eyed me with concern. Mr. Roberts. There's a psychology PhD at Third Hospital. Just returned from overseas. Perhaps a consultation? I closed the file. He retreated, but paused when I called out. Schedule it. The psychologist failed my simple request, hypnotize me to see my wife. When I asked for nightly dreams of her instead, he shook his head. I walked out. Another year passed. My exhausted soul found no joy beyond work. That winter, the rescued stray died despite premium food and veterinary care, joining Lily in eternal sleep. Fine. Let them all leave. Let me waste away alone in this world. After a business dinner right before the Mid-Autumn Festival, I bid farewell to the clients and stepped outside. Lily. You forgot your coat. Wait. I'll go back and get it. Someone called. I didn't wait. I opened the car door and drove off. Moments later, my phone started buzzing incessantly, Chinwen's call. Yes. I'd been drinking. And not just a sip. I was desperate to get home. To dream. To see my wife again. Where was I driving? No idea. I only remember flooring the accelerator. Until a concrete barrier materialized ahead. A deafening crash. Darkness. Yet in that final flicker of consciousness, I finally saw her, my wife.